Welcome back to the Old Charles, coin collectors and history lovers. Today, we're diving deep into one of the most interesting and widely collected U.S. coins, the 1974 Kennedy half dollar. We'll talk about its **** value in today's market, the long history behind its design, and how the condition of your coin can greatly influence what it's worth. So stick around, because by the end of this video, you might just find out that the half dollar sitting in your collection is worth more than you think. The half dollar is one of the most iconic denominations in U.S. coinage, and the Kennedy half dollar was first introduced in 1964, shortly after the tragic assassination of President John F. Kennedy in November 1963. It was created as a tribute to the beloved 35th president, and Americans immediately embraced the design. By 1974, the coin had already been in circulation for 10 years. But there's something very unique about this year's issue. Unlike the first Kennedy half dollars in 1964, which were struck in 90% silver, the 1974 version was made with a copper-nickel-clad composition, 75% copper and 25% nickel on the outside, bonded to a pure copper core. This change had happened in 1971, when silver prices rose and the U.S. Mint removed silver from most circulating coins. That means the 1974 Kennedy half dollar has no silver content, but don't let that fool you. Certain variations, errors, and mint marks make these coins highly collectible. On the obverse, or front of the coin, you'll see the striking portrait of John F. Kennedy, designed by Gilroy Roberts. His strong profile symbolizes leadership and vision. In the reverse, designed by Frank Gasparo, you'll notice the presidential seal, a heraldic eagle clutching arrows and an olive branch, surrounded by 50 stars. This design continues to make the half dollar one of the most beautiful coins in American history. In 1974, Kennedy half dollars were struck at 3 different mints. Over 201 million coins produced. Over 79 million coins produced. These were special proof coins, around 2.6 million struck. The mint mark is located on the obverse side, just below Kennedy's neck, near the truncation of the portrait. Now let's get into what everyone is waiting for. The value. Most of these coins are common and typically worth 50 cents to $1 in average circulated condition. If you have a coin that was never used in commerce and is in mint state, MS-60, MS-65, it can be worth between $3 to $15 depending on the grade. These shiny collector pieces are valued between $5 and $10, but higher grade proofs, especially those with deep cameo contrast, can fetch $20 or more. But here's where it gets exciting. Error coins. Some 1974 Kennedy half dollars are worth far more due to minting errors and varieties. Double die obverse, DDO, ***. Look for doubling in the word in God We Trust or Kennedy's profile. These can be worth anywhere from $20 to $150 or more, depending on the strength of the doubling. Off-center strikes, clipped planchets, or misstrikes ***. These error coins can bring in $50 to several $100. High-grade certified coins, MS-67 or higher, ***, extremely rare. These can sell for $1,000 or more at auction. The condition of your coin makes a huge difference. Collectors and dealers grade coins on a scale from poor, P1, all the way up to a heavily circulated 1974 half dollar with scratches and where will only be worth face value. A bright, lustrous, uncirculated coin with no contact marks could be valued much higher. If you think your coin might be rare, it's always worth having it professionally graded by services like PCGS or NGC. Even though the 1974 Kennedy half dollar doesn't contain silver, it carries huge historical value. It represents a time when America was transitioning away from silver coinage, and it keeps alive the memory of President Kennedy. Collectors all over the world seek these coins, making them a must-have for any U.S. coin collection. So there you have it, the complete story of the 1974 United States half dollar. From its history and design, to its values, mint marks, and error varieties, this coin is more than just 50 cents in your pocket. It's a piece of American history. We're going to explore the 1974 United States half dollar, also known as the Kennedy half dollar. We'll take you through its long and fascinating history, design origins, minting details, and current values, as well as some rare varieties and error coins that could be worth far more than face value. So, if you've ever held onto one of these half dollars and wondered if it's just 50 cents or a hidden treasure, stay tuned, because we're about to uncover the story of the 1974 Kennedy half dollar. To understand the 1974 half dollar, we need to go back in time, long before that year. The half-dollar denomination itself has been around since the late 18th century. The very first half-dollars were struck in 1794, featuring the flowing hair design. Over the decades, the half-dollar became a staple in American commerce, circulating alongside silver dollars, quarters, and smaller denominations. By the mid-20th century, the half-dollar had already seen several iconic designs, from the seated Liberty to the Barber half-dollar, and then the walking Liberty half-dollar from 1916 to 1947, which many collectors consider one of the most beautiful U.S. coins ever minted. After that came the Franklin half-dollar in 1948, honoring founding father Benjamin Franklin. Everything changed in 1963, when President John F. Kennedy was tragically assassinated in Dallas, Texas. The nation went into mourning, and just days after his death, Congress and the U.S. Mint began discussions about creating a coin to honor him. By early 1964, the Kennedy half-dollar was born, designed by Chief Engraver Gilroy Roberts, obverse, and Frank Gasparo, reverse. The first 1964 Kennedy half-dollars were struck in 90% silver, and they were immediately hoarded by the public. Americans saw them not just as currency, but as a keepsake to honor Kennedy's legacy. That hoarding meant that very few actually entered circulation. In 1965, due to rising silver prices, the mint reduced the silver content to 40%. This continued until 1970, when silver was finally removed entirely from circulating half-dollars. Starting in 1971, including the 1974 issue, the Kennedy half-dollar was made of a copper-nickel-clad composition, so, by 1974, the coin was only in its 10th year of production, but it already carried deep symbolism. The half-dollar wasn't just money, it was a tribute to a president whose life had been cut short, and it represented a turning point in American coinage, the full transition away from silver. Now, why is the 1974 issue interesting historically? Well, for one, it was struck during a time when the half-dollar was rapidly disappearing from daily circulation. In the early 1970s, most Americans were using quarters, dimes, and dollar bills for transactions. The half-dollar was large, heavy, and not as convenient. As a result, many people set them aside in jars, collections, or dresser drawers. Despite being common in mintage numbers, with over 201 million struck in Philadelphia, 79 million in Denver, and millions of proofs in San Francisco, the 1974 Kennedy half-dollar often survived in better condition because people didn't use them as much in day-to-day life. Another fascinating piece of history is that during this same time period, the U.S. Mint was experimenting with designs and minting processes. Errors became more noticeable, such as double dies and misstrikes, which today are some of the rarest and most valuable 1974 half-dollars you can find. Finally, the Kennedy half-dollar holds cultural significance. Even in 1974, a full decade after Kennedy's death, the American people were still strongly attached to his image. Collectors worldwide also viewed the coin as a historical keepsake, which is why Kennedy half-dollars, including the 1974 issue, remain so widely collected today. When we hold a 1974 half-dollar, we're not just holding a piece of clad metal. We're holding a coin that reflects a nation in transition, from silver to clad coinage, from everyday use to collector popularity, and from tragedy to a lasting tribute. The obverse features Kennedy's profile, symbolizing leadership and vision, while the reverse displays the presidential seal, a strong reminder of America's power and unity. The better the grade, the higher the value. Coins in MS-67 or above are very rare and can fetch thousands. The 1974 half-dollar isn't just about its face value. It captures a unique period in U.S. coinage history, honors a beloved president, and symbolizes America's transition in both currency and culture. So there you have it, the long and rich history of the 1974 Kennedy half-dollar. A coin that might look ordinary at first glance, but carries decades of meaning, history, and value. We're talking all about the 1974 Kennedy half-dollar. We'll explore its history, design, value, and most importantly, how the condition of your coin can drastically change its worth. Stick around, because by the end of this video, you'll know exactly what to look for in your own half-dollar collection. The Kennedy half-dollar was introduced in 1964 to honor President John F. Kennedy. By 1974, it was struck in copper-nickel clad instead of silver, but it remained one of the most popular coins in the U.S. Mint's history. On the obverse, we see Kennedy's profile, designed by Gilroy Roberts. On the reverse, the presidential seal, designed by Frank Gasparo. 3 mints struck these coins in 1974, Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco for proofs. When we talk about uncirculated coins, we enter a whole new world of value, and about uncirculated, -50 Australian dollars to -58 Australian dollars, coin has only the slightest wear, often on the high points of the design, like Kennedy's cheek or hair above his ear. These coins can be worth a couple of dollars, but the real gems are mint state coins. Mint state, or MS, means the coin never entered circulation at all. These coins are graded on a scale from MS 60 up to MS 70. A coin with no wear but lots of bag marks or scratches from the minting process. Value $3 $5. Average uncirculated, with some luster but noticeable contact marks. Value $5 $10. Strong luster, minimal marks, very attractive. Value $15 $30. Exceptional quality, nearly flawless surfaces. Value $50 $200 plus. Almost impossible to find, and these can reach hundreds to thousands of dollars at auction. Proof coins are a whole category of their own. In 1974, the San Francisco Mint struck around 2.6 million proof Kennedy half-dollars. Proofs are not circulation coins. They were specially struck for collectors using polished dies and planchets. You can identify a proof by its mirror-like fields and sharp details. They're often graded as average proofs with hairlines or handling marks. Value $5 $8. Brilliant mirror fields, few marks. Value $10 $20. Virtually flawless, worth $30 $100 plus. Extremely rare, perfect in every way. These can fetch hundreds of dollars from serious collectors. Some proofs also have what's called cameo or deep cameo contrast, meaning the raised design appears frosted, while the background is mirror-like. These are especially desirable and command higher prices. If you believe your 1974 half-dollar is in high condition, it's worth getting it certified by a professional grading service like PCGS, NGC, or ANAX. A certified coin comes in a tamper-proof holder with its grade guaranteed, which makes it easier to sell at higher prices. For example, a raw 1974 half-dollar might only sell for a few dollars, but if it's certified MS67 by PCGS, it could fetch hundreds, even thousands, depending on demand. Condition isn't just about technical grading. Collectors also look for eye appeal, how nice the coin looks overall. A coin with strong luster, attractive toning, and no distracting marks will always bring a premium. On the other hand, a coin with dull surfaces, scratches, or spotting may sell for less, even if it's technically the same grade. Finally, condition depends on how well the coin has been preserved over the years. If you want to keep your 1974 Kennedy half-dollar in top shape, store it in a holder or capsule to prevent scratches. Keep it away from humidity to avoid tarnish. Handle it carefully, always by the edges, never touching the surfaces. Properly preserved coins will always retain more value. The 1974 Kennedy half-dollar may not be rare in circulation, but in high grades, especially mint state 67 or higher, it becomes a true collector's prize. Proofs with deep cameo finishes are also highly sought after. Condition is what transforms this coin from pocket change into a collectible worth hundreds or even thousands. So there you have it, the full breakdown of the 1974 Kennedy half-dollar, with a special focus on how condition plays the biggest role in determining value. Do you own a 1974 half-dollar? If so, take another look. You might have a hidden gem depending on its grade. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. And tell us in the comments, what's the highest grade coin in your collection?